They told you it was just a conspiracy theory. They told you that a social credit system, where your ability to buy food, travel, or rent a home depends on your obedience to the state, was a nightmare exclusive to China. They lied. What if I told you that the infrastructure for a Western social credit system isn't coming in the future, but that it was activated, silently, right under your nose less than 24 months ago? We aren't talking about cameras on street corners grading your jaywalking. We are talking about something far more terrifying. We are talking about the weaponization of your bank account. Look at your wallet. You think that plastic card belongs to you? You think the numbers on your banking app represent your property? Think again. In the last few years, we have seen bank accounts frozen for political donations in Canada. We have seen prominent politicians in the UK, like Nigel Farage, debanked, not for financial crimes, but for having the wrong opinions. This is the start of the greatest financial heist in human history. It is the shift from an economy based on merit to an economy based on compliance. Today, we are going to rip the mask off the financial elite's master plan. We are going to expose the hidden mechanism they are building to turn your money into a digital leash. But before we descend into the rabbit hole, I need to know who is awake out there. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments right now. Let's see how global this surveillance grid really is. And if you want the unfiltered truth that the mainstream financial media is too terrified to touch, smash that subscribe button right now. We are exposing the blueprint they don't want you to see. To understand the cage they are building, we have to look at the blueprints of the past. History doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And right now, it's screaming. Let's go back to the concept of redlining in the mid-20th century. Banks and insurers secretly drew lines on maps, deciding which neighborhoods, usually poor or minority communities, were financial risks. If you lived inside the red line, you didn't get a loan, you didn't get insurance, you were economically strangled, not by law, but by corporate policy. Sound familiar? Fast forward to 2013 in the United States. An initiative called Operation Choke Point. This was a program by the U.S. Department of Justice that pressured banks to cut off financial services to businesses that were legal but politically disfavored. Gun shops, payday lenders, coin dealers. The government didn't make these businesses illegal. They just whispered to the banks that these clients were high risk. The banks, terrified of regulators, shut down their accounts. The businesses starved to death. Sound familiar? Now, look at today. The definitions of high risk have expanded. It's no longer just about
creditworthiness or criminal activity. It's about reputational risk. When Coutts Bank closed Nigel Farage's account, their internal documents didn't say he was broke. They explicitly stated that his views did not align with the bank's values. Since when did your bank need to agree with your voting record to hold your money? This is the modern parallel to the medieval excommunication. In the old world, if you angered the church, you were cut off from God. In the modern world, if you anger the banking syndicate, you are cut off from commerce. And here is the terrifying part. In China, the social credit system is state-run. It is the Communist Party telling you what to do. The West looked at that and said, that's inefficient. The Western model is much smarter. They are privatizing the tyranny. They are using private banks, payment processors like PayPal, and credit card giants like Visa and MasterCard to enforce political compliance. If the government freezes your money, you have rights under the Constitution. You can sue. You have due process. But if a private company freezes your money for violating their terms of service, you have nothing. You are a customer who violated a contract. Sound familiar? We saw the beta test of this in Canada during the 2022 trucker protests. The government invoked emergency powers not to arrest protesters, but to compel banks to freeze the personal accounts of anyone who donated as little as $20 to the convoy. No trial, no judge, no jury, just a button press, and suddenly single mothers couldn't buy groceries because they supported a protest. This was the proof of concept. They proved they could turn off your ability to exist in the modern economy with zero resistance. And now they are scaling that technology up. The history of finance has always been about know your customer, stopping money laundering and terrorism, but we have silently crossed a threshold. We have moved from know your customer to judge your customer. And the scary part? They haven't even deployed the main weapon yet. What we are seeing now is just the warm-up act.
You might be thinking, okay, so I just won't protest, and I'll be fine. Or I'll just use cash. This is where you are wrong. This is where the trap snaps shut. The conspiracy isn't just about political speech. That's the distraction. The real game is about transforming the entire economic engine of the West. Who is pulling the strings? It's not just the president or the prime minister. It is a shadow coalition of asset managers who control more wealth than the GDP of entire continents. We need to talk about the mechanism that forces banks to act like moral police. Why would a bank care about your carbon footprint or your tweets? They care because their access to capital depends on it. This brings us to the twist. The invisible hand
forcing this change. It's called ESG, Environmental, Social, and Governance Scores. This is a credit score for corporations. If a bank doesn't score high enough on the social or environmental metric, the biggest asset managers in the world, the ones holding tens of trillions of dollars, will pull their funding. So, to keep their own scores high, banks must police you. They have to ensure that their clients aren't polluting their ESG score. But there is one specific entity, one name that appears at the top of the food chain, orchestrating this shift towards stakeholder capitalism. A name that manages so much money they practically own the S&P 500. You won't believe the name on the receipt of your financial enslavement. It's deeper than you think. And the receipt is wilder than you think. Let's get into the mechanics, the how, because once you see the machinery, you cannot unsee it. The entity I hinted at is BlackRock, led by Larry Fink, but they are just the captain of a fleet that includes Vanguard and State Street. Together, they manage over $20 trillion in assets. To put that startling number into perspective, that is roughly equal to the entire gross domestic product of the United States. When they tell a bank to jump, the bank asks, how high? But pressure is just the motivation. CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, are the weapon. This is the primary mechanism of the Western social credit system. Right now, if you have money in a bank, it is a liability the bank owes you. It is effectively digital, yes, but it is distinct from programmable money. A CBDC is different. It is a direct liability of the central bank, like the Federal Reserve or the ECB. And unlike cash or even your current digital bank reserves, a CBDC is programmable code. What does that mean? It means the money itself contains rules. Rule number 1, expiration dates. China has already tested this with the digital yuan, money that comes with a use it or lose it timer. Imagine the government wants to stimulate the economy. They drop $1,000 into your digital wallet, but code it to expire in 30 days. If you want to save it for your children, too bad, it vanishes. This destroys the concept of savings and generational wealth. It forces you to be a consumer, running on a hamster wheel of permanent inflation. Rule number 2, geofencing. The technology exists right now to restrict where your money works. Let's say there is a climate lockdown or a restriction on travel. Your digital dollar could be coded to simply not work more than 5 miles from your registered home address. You try to buy gas in the next state? Declined. Not because you have no funds, but because your funds are not valid in that zone. Rule number 3, the carbon allowance cap. This is the holy grail of the ESG movement. Currently, banks are adopting a new messaging standard for payments called ISO 2022. This creates a rich data layer for every transaction. Today, a bank transfer just says, John paid Alice $50. Under the new system, which is rolling out globally right now, the transaction data can include exactly what you bought.
Combine this with MCC, Merchant Category Codes. In 2022, Visa, MasterCard, and Amex adopted a specific code for firearms retailers. They track what you buy. Now integrate that with the CBDC. Your digital ID is linked to your wallet. Every time you buy meat, fuel, or a plane ticket, your personal carbon allowance ticks up. Statistic check. According to the Atlantic Council, 130 countries, representing 98% of global GDP, are currently exploring a CBDC. This isn't a theory, it is a global rollout. In the UK, the digital pound consultation is underway. In the Eurozone, the digital euro is in the preparation phase. Let's look at the numbers. 90% of the world's central banks are engaged in CBDC work. $10 trillion is the estimated investment needed to achieve net zero goals by 2050, a cost that will be passed down to you through consumption limits managed by this financial system. This is parasitic finance. It sucks the freedom out of the transaction. It creates a moral hazard of epic proportions. If a central planner can control the velocity and direction of money with an algorithm, they will believe they can control the economy. But history tells us that central planning leads to engineered collapse. Think about the illusion of convenience they are selling you. It's faster, it's safer, no more bank runs. But here is the reality. In a CBDC world, a bank run isn't you running to the bank to get your cash. It is the bank running from you, deleting your purchasing power instantly to stabilize the system. This mechanism transforms the citizen into a subject. If your money requires permission to spend, you are not free. You are on an allowance. And remember the mid-script twist? The private sector, BlackRock, the big banks, they love this. Why? Because big data is the new oil. If they know every single item you buy, every mile you travel, and every donation you make, they can predict your behavior, manipulate your choices, and sell your life back to you, one subscription at a time. They are building a digital panopticon, a prison where the walls are made of convenience and the bars are made of algorithms. We are standing on the precipice of a new dark age, not one of poverty and mud, but one of sterile high-tech control. The modern system is faster, more global, and more interconnected than anything in history. This means the next collapse or the next lockdown won't happen over weeks. It will happen at the speed of light. Fiber optic cables will carry the command to freeze your assets before you can even blink. The greatest danger we face today is denial, the belief that it can't happen here, the belief that our institutions are still built on the bedrock of liberty. They are not. They are built on borrowed time. If we accept convenience over privacy, if we accept safety over sovereignty, we lose everything. The social credit system is not coming to the West. It is being grown here, watered by our apathy and fed by our data. The banks have shown their hand. The governments have piloted the technology. The infrastructure is being laid. The question isn't, will they do it? The question is, what will you do when they flip the switch? Will you diversify? Will you hold physical assets? Will you reject the digital cage? Or will you walk willingly into the trap because they promised you it was for your own good? Are we wiser now, or are we just walking the same path as every fallen society before us, just wearing better suits? If this video opened your eyes, you need to share it. They rely on your silence. Do not give it to them. Subscribe to this channel, because we are going to keep exposing the receipts until the whole house of cards comes down. I'll see you on the other side.